I often hear people say that learning musical notes is exactly the same as learning a foreign language, and that's not exactly true. Just to clarify, there are a lot of books out there, and there's a lot of research out there which seeks to compare language and music, and they do find some very striking similarities, but the differences between language and music are very important. So starting off with the similarities, there's a specific gene in the brain which is linked to speech, and that's the same gene in the brain which is linked to the manipulation of one's vocal cords and thus singing. Another similarity is that the same part of the brain which is responsible for language acquisition is also responsible for rhythm, tone, and other features of musicality. This part of the brain is actually called the Broca's area, and it processes both language and music. However, when it processes language, it derives meaning, and that meaning is typically shared among different individuals. However, for music, different individuals may not find the same meaning in those musical sounds and musical notes. And that's a very big difference, because the whole purpose of language is to convey a meaning or a message. And although you can argue that music has that same purpose, that purpose is not necessarily fulfilled, and one person may derive a completely different meaning from music than another individual. Another difference, which is quite important, is that humans have a natural predisposition to acquire language. Very few people are completely unable to learn any language whatsoever, but we don't necessarily have that same function with musical notes and music. We can enjoy music, but we will not all have a natural instinct to learn music. Language also has a lot of very specific properties and features which are not necessarily found in music. For example, phonology, morphology, lexicon, etc. Obviously, your opinion of whether music and language are the same will depend on your definition of music or your definition of language, because a lot of musicians actually argue that music has a very clear, distinct meaning. It's just that not everybody can understand that meaning. A lot of musicians, for example, derive the same meaning from the same songs. For example, my piano instructor told me that he is so proficient in piano that he can understand exactly the message that another pianist is trying to convey without communication, simply by playing the piano. However, yes, he can understand whether the pianist is sad, happy, mad. I guess you can convey emotions through music, and that has been demonstrated. But he wouldn't be exactly able to communicate that the pencil is behind the refrigerator, for example. To conclude, yes, there's a lot of similarities between musicality and language cognition, but the differences, they're just too significant to say that they're exactly the same thing.